Welcome back. This is another installment of JavaScript Essentials. Last time we looked at value types and how to switch between value types. Today we're going to look at comments. We're going to look at declaring variables, and then we're also going to look at blocks of code. So I've got a few examples here. The first one is this is a single line comment. Basically, the double forward slash lets you put a single line comment. So the comment ends at the end of the line. When you get to a new line, it's no longer a comment. So this piece right here is a comment, even though it's not green. And then this is now no longer in the comment section. So this is actual code here. Same thing here. This is code, and then we have a single line comment at the end of that. And so you can see this one is green here, denoting comment. And then this is a different kind of comment here. This is a multi-line comment. So it starts with the forward slash asterisk, and then it continues being a comment until it finds the asterisk forward slash special character. So whenever you have to start and end this comment, it won't end until it finds this combination of characters here. You can also use this inside of the line of code. So if for some reason you wanted to put a comment in code, which is not typical, but what I have used this for is if I'm troubleshooting and I want to comment out a piece of code in my line, but then add a test kind of code at the end. So maybe in here I had B is equal to C was the code, but it wasn't working quite right. So I commented out C and I put A, and then maybe that worked, maybe it didn't. But that's kind of what I use the inline comment for, because if you did the forward slash, so if I had B equals C, and I said, well, that's not working, and I did a single line comment, well, anything after that is a comment. But if I use the multi-line comment and ended it in the same line, now I can put code again and change the code. I can say, okay, this worked better than the C, I'll use this from now on, and then just come back and delete this later on whenever I've verified that this is the way we want it. Next topic is declaring variables. So I recommend anytime you're going to use a variable, declare it with this var statement, and it can be on its own line. So you could say var c and then start using it. So then come down here and say c equals dog. So a string with dog as the value. So here I declared it. Here I defined it. I gave it a value. Here I'm doing both in the same line. I'm declaring it and giving it a value in the same line. Both are fine. Both work really well. There's another pattern, and I used this for a while, but I got away from it because it was causing me issues. But you can declare multiple variables using the comma syntax. So if I said f comma g comma h, I can declare all those, and those all are declared with this var declaration. So this is equivalent to saying var f, var g, var h. So this one line is the same as these three lines put together. You could also, even if you wanted one separate lines for readability, you could do this. That works just as well. And now these lines are the same as these. You just didn't have to write var every time, and you had to use the commas instead of the semicolon. The place where this got me in trouble was I had a list of variables like this with commas, and then the end of it has to be a semicolon. And then I came down and I said, okay, I have a new variable I need to add to this list, and I did this. And I forgot to make this a comma. And so what happens is this status now didn't get a correct declaration, It's just status. And so it was, what happens when you don't have this var in front of you is JavaScript automatically defines it for you in the global namespace. So whenever the var is here, and we'll talk about this more when we hit scope and things, but when the var is here, the C variable only exists inside this load function. Anything outside this load function no longer knows about this C variable. And so if you use that C variable outside this load function, you either need to redeclare it with a var, or if you used it without a var, it would auto get declared outside of the function. And so the scope would be bigger than the function. And that's what would happen here is status wouldn't have this var declaration. It would be declared outside of load, and so you could use it in load still, but also the same declaration would be used in other functions and elsewhere. So that's what you kind of have to be careful with. So I stopped using this style, this comma style, and I just put a var in front of every, and I list them out. And then it is always good to add comments. And the biggest thing about comments, it's going to be for you when you come back and look at the code. It's also for other people trying to decipher your code. But you want to make comments that are helpful, that are meaningful. You don't want to really have a comment that says, okay, here I assigned 42 to A, because I can see that. You can see that 42 is getting assigned to A. That's obvious. That's what the code is telling you. You want to tell the user or the future you what it means. Why are you assigning 42 to A? What's the purpose of A? What's the purpose of assigning 42 to it? Something like that. You want it to be a meaningful comment. You don't want it to just restate what the code is already telling you. So pay attention to your comments. I'm probably the worst at comments. I need to do much better at comments. But don't be like me. Comment meaningful comments and comment well and everywhere. The last piece today is a code block. So you see here we've been using functions, this load function, and I have this curly bracket. This curly bracket starts here and ends here. This is a block of code, and you could actually block off code anywhere. Like I could block off this code. There's not a lot of meaning behind this inner block right here, except to maybe tell you that those belong together. More commonly, they're used when we use conditionals or loops or functions like this, and we'll get into that in the upcoming sessions. But for now, know that whenever you use curly brackets, it considers it a block of code, and it executes together. So all of this executes, and then the function is over, basically. There's two stylistic choices to the curly brackets. You can see here that I have the curly bracket start after the function declaration. I do the same thing with conditional and loops. I have the curly bracket. This is called cuddling. Kind of a weird name, but that's what it's called if you look it up. This is cuddling the curly brackets, cuddling the block opening. The other way to do this is like this, and this is whenever you declare a function behavior. This is how it comes in by default, is the curly bracket opens on the next line. Both are fine. Both work. There's no problem with either one. It's a stylistic choice. I choose to do this, but you can choose to do the other way. It does not matter. But that's all we have today. Tomorrow, or next time, we're going to cover conditionals. So we'll be talking about if statements, if then else, some switch statements, and other kinds of conditionals that we'll look at. So see you next time.